Hi guys, this is the ASMR Nerd, and today, as you can probably tell, I'm doing something kind of different. Um, Welcome to my backyard. Well, not quite my backyard, but this is about a 20-minute walk away from where I live, and I thought it would be nice today to do the part 3 of this Q&A series, the third and final part, out here by this beautiful creek. I have no idea how this is going to turn out. I'm speaking a bit louder than I would inside, as you might notice. The creek's actually quite loud because it's wintertime, and so there's a lot of water in it. There's been a lot of precipitation here lately in the Pacific Northwest. So this might work, it might not. You might just hear a big, white noise rush. I've never tested this microphone outside, with sort of nature sounds. So, but I hope that you can hear a little bit of the sounds of the water, kind of, nice burbly gurgly sounds as the stream runs past, and hopefully you can hear my voice okay too. I'm not really going to have much opportunity to remix this in post or anything because I've just got one microphone doing all the work. So, I'll do what I can to balance it and make it sound nice so that you can hear both me and the stream. And I hope that the water isn't too loud. I guess that's what I'm really hoping. Anyway, it's an experiment. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But hopefully this is the first of many videos that I film outside, and I'm sure that I will get better at figuring out the sound balance aspect of stuff as time goes on and I have more time to experiment. But this was kind of a spur of the moment choice. I just wanted to get out of the dark room that you guys have seen for the last couple of videos, and I had some time outside today, so I thought I'd give this a go. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much more. I just want to jump into it because we have about an hour of recording time here away from the computer, and I've got a lot of questions to get through. So we're going to give this a go, and hopefully it works. So let's start. Today's video is going to be all of your questions that weren't specifically about ASMR or the channel or about gaming or gaming related stuff. So all those kind of other things, personal questions, stuff that doesn't fall into any particular category. All right. A whole ton of people wanted to know what's my favorite kind of music, genre of music, or and my favorite band or artist. Some of you might know I'm a big fan of metal. Listened to metal for a long time. Within the broad genre of metal, there's a whole bunch of subgenres, and metal heads can get quite snobby about what's what. I'm not too much of a metal snob, but there are certainly kinds of metal that I like more than others. I'm a really big fan of folk metal, prog metal, to a lesser extent sort of technical metal, math metal, that kind of stuff. But and symphonic metal as well, and orchestral metal, that kind of stuff. So that covers actually a surprisingly broad range of bands. But a couple of my favorites right now are Swiss folk metal group Helveti, who, if you're a fan of metal and you've never heard them, absolutely worth checking out. I think folk and metal can go together really well. They don't always. There are some folk metal bands that I'm not such a fan of, but I think Helveti does a fantastic job. I should point out that they are death metal, so they have a lot of growls, and a lot of the metal I listen to has growls, kind of guttural vocalizations. So if that's not your thing, then the music I listen to probably wouldn't be up your alley, but I do listen to other stuff too. I listen to, like I said, symphonic metal, so I really enjoy Epica, which has a little bit of growling, but is a female-fronted band, and so for the most part it's clean female vocals. Their lead singer is very, very good. I like I said, prog metal, prog death. I really enjoy Opeth. Opeth is one of my favorite bands of all time. I really like instrumental. I guess it's more. I guess they call it djent, um, in this case. But it's a band called Animals as Leaders, and they are quite technical and proggy, but really beautiful. They incorporate all kinds of stuff, like elements of, well, lots of jazz actually, jazz and blues into their music, and purely instrumental, so no vocals, but absolutely worth checking out. Really brilliant band. As Animals as Leaders. And I also like the Gothenburg style death metal, the melodic death metal. I like your older In Flames, not so much the newer In Flames, but older In Flames. And Insomnium, if you've never heard, they're Finnish melodic death, really good. Yeah. Okay. So those are probably some of my favorite bands, my favorite subgenres. I listen to other stuff too, like I'll listen to modern rock. I also really love classical stuff, especially soundtrack music, which I think I have a flair for the epic. I think I like epic music, but video game soundtracks obviously are fantastic. I love the Skyrim soundtrack. I love the Guild Wars soundtrack. I love pretty much anything by Jeremy Soule, who's scored a whole bunch of fantasy games over the years, including Skyrim, Oblivion, Morrowind, Guild Wars 1 and 2, Dungeon Siege, KOTOR, Icewind Dale, just all kinds of stuff. He's really good. I also really like the Transistor soundtrack. I really like, did I say Diablo 2? I love that soundtrack. Matt Uelman is fantastic. Yeah. I'm actually not super picky most of the time when it comes to music. Like, those are the kinds of music that I'll seek out, like metal, soundtrack music, but I will listen to most things without too much complaint. Not a big fan of hip-hop, not a big fan of country, but I can find, artistic merit in most music, I think. Something to enjoy, so. Okay. Oh, that was asked by Tanu. Champagne Supernova, Miss Something Sick, Bradshaw Cisneros, Little Green Dragon, Jesse Brinker, Frosty Applesauce, Tweedlegun, Vampire Holiday, Using Your Real Name is Stupid, The Giant Kid, Jake something or other, I can't tell because it's going off the edge of the page. Jake Braz. I think that's everyone. So, lots of folks. Thank you all for that question. Okay. Next up, Merrick Music Maker wants to know favorite music to jam out to and favorite music to relax to. So, much the same answer. I love to jam out to solid metal riff, something that's kind of headbangy and awesome, something that you can really feel, and to relax to, soundtrack stuff. Mostly video game stuff, although movies, there's some pretty solid movie soundtracks out there too that I listen to, but yeah. Favorite game theme from Max Stwit. Favorite game theme. Tristram theme from Diablo, the first Diablo. I think that's just a really beautiful acoustic piece. So, good question. So those are all kind of music related. Torbax wants to know if I suffer from OCD tendencies. No, not like clinically or anything like that. I definitely, I can be a bit of a perfectionist sometimes, and I do often have I need to have things sort of logically organized, but I don't think I'm obsessive about it or anything like that. So, but it's a good question. Thank you. He also wants to know when I go to bed. What's bedtime for me normally? I tend towards the night owl end of things. I don't really know why. I just always have. But that being said, obviously if I work in the morning, I'm not going to be up too late. I usually go to bed somewhere around midnight. That's typical. Even on a work night. But I have the flexibility in my job to start work a little later and end work a little later, which I tend to do. And that works out well for me. So, Kanan Stewart and Steph White want to know, where did I grow up? I grew up here. Well, not in the forest, but, well, partly in the forest, actually. I grew up in Victoria, British Columbia, which is where I still live. Victoria's on an island called Vancouver Island. It's one of the largest islands. I want to say one of the bigger ones in the world, probably. It's a pretty big island anyway, so it doesn't really feel all that much like living on an island. You don't feel like restricted, but we are near the ocean at all times. In fact, right now, this very creek, you can see right here, is about 2 minutes away from the ocean. If you went another 2 to 3 minutes downstream that way, you'd come out at the water. So it's a beautiful place to grow up, full of gorgeous Pacific Northwest rainforests. There's beautiful mountains on the island. There's old growth. There's gorgeous beaches. Some of the most beautiful places, well, I'm biased, but some of the most beautiful places on the planet, in my opinion. And I've had a chance to travel a little bit and see a few other places, and Vancouver Island holds up pretty well. So I was very lucky to grow up here on a fairly rural piece of property. I grew up out in the country. And I did have a forest as my backyard, so I spent many, many hours playing out there. So, yeah, beautiful place to grow up. Nervousness Pie wants to know if I like cats. I love cats. Cats are fantastic. I grew up with a bunch of cats, and I've got 2 cats right now, whom you guys have never seen, because I go to great pains to keep them out of videos, because they tend to be kind of pesky and in the way when I'm trying to film, but maybe I'll do a video with a cat or 2 at some point. Their names are Maisie and Abby. They're big and fluffy, and they are cute. So we'll see. I've thought about it. Victoria Wolf, Kaubga, DHPII, Jamie Goslow, Nemesis 86 XX, Prout Kaka XX, Big Sam's okay, and Jason Garrido all wanted to know what I do for a living, more specifically than what I've explained before. I've said in passing that I'm a biologist or an ecologist. I've said it in past, which is true. I went to school. I have a bachelor's degree in biology, general biology. I don't yet have a master's. Planning to do that this fall, likely, and I'll keep you guys posted on how that pans out. But so I've worked a number of jobs since I graduated a few years back from university, and so I've had a wide variety of experiences, which is cool. I've worked in nature interpretation and public outreach, which involves basically teaching people about the kind of stuff you see here about West Coast marine life, especially, and our sort of natural and cultural history in this part of the world. I've also worked as a writer, a science writer specifically. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now, working on a book with another fellow, and it centers on natural resource management and climate change, which has been a really cool ongoing project that's been a real challenge. Writing for a what they call a popular audience, so sort of not experts in the field, is a real challenge, but my background in nature interpretation actually helped a lot, because it helps take complex concepts and reduce them down to simpler concepts and use things like analogies and things that people are familiar with to relate concepts that they might not otherwise fully grasp to them. So that's been a cool challenge, and that book is still ongoing, and it's been good. I do enjoy writing, although science writing is quite different from creative writing. They're both unique challenges in their own way. And I also work for the federal government on and off, Natural Resources Canada, doing forestry related work. So kind of a wide variety of things there. And I also do some natural ecosystem restoration type work as a private consultant on the side. So lots of stuff. I hope that answers your question in a little bit more detail. Nervousness Pie wants to know if I liked Guardians of the Galaxy. Shamefully, I haven't seen it yet. In fact, you'll notice a trend. Anytime anybody asks me about a movie, I'll be like, oh, I probably haven't seen that. I'm terrible about seeing movies. I'm like an uncultured schmuck. There's a ton of movies that I haven't seen, both current and classic. Not because I don't like them. I think just because generally when I have free time, I'm doing video game related stuff. So that tends to be what takes up more of my time. Oh. Okay. Favorite kitchen door color? Asked Showthorst24. I like a dark cherry, like a nice natural wood. Yeah, we'll go with that. Kate asks if I enjoy cooking. Yeah, I do enjoy cooking. I'm not fantastic at cooking, and I grow my repertoire slowly over the years. But I do enjoy it. I especially enjoy not so much baking. Like baking's not something that I do much of or particularly great at, but I like making meat of various kinds. I like my constant pursuit of the perfect steak. I like doing up ribs and stuff. I like doing pastas. I like doing stir fries. I especially love stir fries and curries and sort of Asian fusion stuff. So salads. I like making exciting salads. Sometimes we'll just kind of throw random things together. Yeah. So I enjoy cooking. Not great at it, but I enjoy it. Horseman ASMR. Did you or do you have anxiety? And if so, how do you overcome it? So I answered this in in a comment, I think, a few videos back, but I don't suffer from what might be considered or labeled clinical anxiety or anything like that. I don't suffer from anxiety attacks, but like anybody else, I do suffer from stress related to all kinds of stuff, jobs, interpersonal relationships, just stress about the future, where I'm going to be, what I'm going to do, financial stress, and it's all that kind of stuff, like anybody does. And sometimes it gets to me. And I think I said in that comment that I tend to handle stuff fairly rationally, like I tend to kind of think it through, which is not what works for a lot of people, but it seems to work pretty well for me. And I sort of I really have to rationalize with myself, like, this isn't worth stressing over. You're allowed to relax. You're allowed to just take deep breaths. This is, for instance, if I'm watching an ASMR video, I use ASMR videos to de-stress. I'll sort of tell myself this is my time, this is my place to just let everything go. You need this, you deserve this, whatever it is. And deep breathing always helps. But other techniques for dealing with anxiety and stress, like obviously going for walks in beautiful places like this goes a long way. Video games go a long way. In that sense that they are good escape sometimes. Obviously you can take that too far and you can sort of live your life in a video game. That becomes unhealthy. But if you just need a distraction from things that are, bothering you, video games can be a fantastic way to do that. So, sorry if you can hear. I think there's a plane flying overhead. I don't know if you can even hear it over the din of the creek here, but okay. Thank you for your question, Horseman ASMR. Noah DeJesus, Rodrigo, and Charlie Jones want to know if I play sports. What's my favorite sport? I don't play any team organized sports right now. I used to play soccer for about 7 years when I was younger, through my youth and my teens. So that's probably my favorite sport, or football for you Europeans out there. But yeah, soccer. But these days I practice martial arts. So that is not a sport per se. I don't spar, but it is a physical pursuit. But it's also another way that I deal with stress and anxiety and that kind of stuff. Focusing in on perfecting a technique, drilling it again and again is actually really potentially therapeutic for me anyway. So Noah DeJesus and Fangs of the Nidhogg wants to know if I went to college, if so where. Like I said, yeah, I went to the University of Victoria here in Victoria. Surprise, surprise. And I have a bachelor's degree in biology. Uh, it was fun. I like going to school. It sounds maybe crazy to some of you, but I have fun at school. And I'm probably going back for a master's degree. Probably not at UVic, though. Well, definitely not at UVic. And I'll talk more about that maybe in a future video, if and when that comes to pass. Are my an anime fan? This was asked by Lord Alucard's Bride, Odo Oddbo Beaster, and Guitar Hero Ace. I'm not, actually. Not necessarily because I think it's bad or anything, but I just never really got into anime much, aside from sort of the stuff you see on, TV. Excuse me while I shift myself here. By TV, I mean what I watched growing up, like Pokemon and Digimon, which only kind of barely counts, I think. So, not really. That being said, I've got a coworker who's really into anime, and I've asked him for some suggestions about where to kind of get started if I did want to, pick up a series or two. And I watch, the Miyazaki films and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, but no, I'm not really a big anime fan at all. But maybe one day. If you have suggestions, let me know in the comments. Something that would be good for a... anime is a thing. It's like asking if you like anime is kind of like asking if you like movies. There's all kinds of different types of anime, right? So, that's my understanding anyway. There seems to be a whole bunch of different genres and varieties, so there's probably something for everybody there. Favorite fantasy or science fiction mythos? Asked by Henhouse. I gotta go with Star Wars. That's kind of boring. There's lots of really cool, fantastic, mythologies and universes out there, but Star Wars is probably my first and truest fantasy/sci-fi love. I've spent more hours in that universe, whether it's reading books or playing video games or whatever it might be, or playing with my toys as a kid, than any other universe. So needless to say, I'm extremely excited for episode 7 later this year, and somewhat apprehensive. Can you play an instrument? Asked by Ministry of Music. Yes, I play guitar. I used to play saxophone back in my high school days and middle school days. I haven't played saxophone for quite some time, but I did enjoy it a lot. Played in the jazz band, the concert band. I still do play guitar, not as much as I used to, but that's another way that I deal with my anxiety and stress. I'll play my guitar. In fact, for a long time, that was my primary way of dealing with anxiety and stress. Playing an instrument can be really, really, really helpful in that respect. And I played piano for 10 years when I was younger. And again, I don't play very often anymore, but I still play occasionally. So, Rillikilla Jam wants to know, am I a fan of the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movies? Yes, of course. I love the Lord of the Rings movies, and I've enjoyed the Hobbit movies. They're not up there with the Lord of the Rings in my opinion, but they're enjoyable for what they are. And I will take as much of Peter Jackson's Middle Earth as I can get. So, although I don't know if we'll ever see any more, which is a shame, but maybe one day. Miss Something Sick wants to know, where would I live if I could live anywhere? I don't know. I like it here. I also loved Greece when I visited. I think there are too many places in the world that I have not been yet to make that call. So, yeah. I don't know. Got to do more traveling first. She also wants to know, what's something about you that we'd be surprised to know? I'm colorblind. I'm red-green colorblind. I think I'm also maybe a little bit of other kinds of colorblind. Which doesn't mean that I can't see colors, for those of you who aren't aware. It just means that my perception of color differs a little bit from the normal person's perception of color. And especially when I see kind of muted shades of red or green, especially together, they become very hard to distinguish. They tend to look kind of brown. And sometimes blue and purple throw me for a loop if they're kind of close. If it's kind of a purpley blue or a bluey purple, because again, I think it's the red that's in the purple that I don't see as brightly as I should. So, yeah. Oddbo Beaster asks, glass half full, half empty, or does it contain 50% of its volume? So I think this is getting at, am I a pessimist, an optimist, or a realist? I consider myself a realist, I guess. I'm a pretty rational dude, but optimism definitely has its value as well. Cecil Mackey, or Cecily, whatever. Sorry. Mackey. Best restaurants in Victoria. I really enjoy a place a little ways out of Victoria in a suburb called Royal Oak. It's called the Fireside Grill. They do a great Sunday brunch and tasty dinners. It's a little more upscale, but right in downtown Victoria, I really like, there's a little, it's technically a Guatemalan place called Hernandez. They do delicious, authentic open-faced tacos, soft tacos. That is on Yates Street. What else do I like downtown? Cafe Mexico is really good, but it suffered a fire last month, so it's out of commission for a while. I like Siam Thai downtown. That's really good. That's what's coming to mind. But Bin 4, such good burgers. Bin 4 has the best burgers in town, and they're opening another one, which is great because it's always so busy. What do you put in your bird feeders? Asked Bobby O'Hearn in Nemesis 86. Because in the call for questions video, I had lots of birds out on the feeder, if you might have noticed. We put a couple things out there. We put just seed mixture, but the one that you saw in the background of the video was suet. That was a suet feeder. And that was somewhere in here. Someone asked... well, when we get to it, we'll see. But what kind of birds do you get at this time of year was the question. So I'll follow that up here because, makes sense. On the suet feeders specifically, we get woodpeckers. We get flickers at this time of year. Sometimes we get downy woodpeckers, pileated woodpeckers, which are the big guys with the red crest. Northern flickers, I think they are. We also occasionally get Steller's jays at this time of year, which are big, beautiful dark blue birds, but dark blue jays. They make a racket though. They are really noisy. They sound awful, but that's probably mostly what you'd see out on that feeder. I honestly don't remember what was in that video. We get a lot of smaller birds as well, like we get chickadees and stuff around this time of year, but those are the big, exciting birds we get at the feeder. And I'm not actually a huge bird guy. Like, they're cool. I like them. And obviously we put out the feeders. They're neat, but I'm not a birder. A lot of people are real bird enthusiasts. But that's not necessarily me, so. What else we got here? Curious Visionary wants to know, what are your thoughts on religion and spirituality? That's obviously a big question. Man, asking the tough questions. When it comes to that sort of stuff, I'm not a particularly spiritual guy. I don't want to offend anybody, and I don't want to, I'm not making any judgment or anything like that. Oh, we got a friend showing up here. It's a puppy dog over here. People walking. Hey, pup. How you doing? Hey, puppy. Hey, you. What's up, buddy? Bye. It's funny. I'm kind of near a path, not too far away here. I thought I picked a place that was maybe private enough because this is a very secondary path that no one ever comes down, but apparently not today. Anyway, religion, spirituality, that kind of stuff. I've never been a particularly spiritual kind of guy. Faith is something that I struggle with because, like I said, I'm a really rational kind of guy, and for me, the burden of proof of anything is really Uh, the bar is quite high typically. Um, Gosh, just all this disturbance here. Airplanes flying overhead. Uh, and so I have not seen or found anything compelling enough that I can believe in it. I have a hard time believing anything on blind faith, or just based on what I feel. I have to have both the rational and the emotional component for me to really buy into something. That being said, if you have found something that gives you meaning and direction and that makes sense to you and feels right to you, then that's fantastic. As long as you're not hurting anybody else by believing in it and practicing it, then that's fantastic. All the more power to you. And that's something that I will, continue to search for, I guess, and consider, and I don't know. We'll see, I guess. Clueless Visionary also asks if I meditate. No, but I do believe the meditation has a lot of beneficial, aspects, and it's something that I'd like to try someday. Not necessarily even from a spiritual point of view, just as a mind clearing, centering exercise, something like that. And they also want to know what my opinion on drug prohibition is. Man, Curious Visionary, asking the tough questions. This comes down to, should people be in charge of making their own decisions with that kind of stuff? Like, I think that a lot of drugs should be legalized and regulated, or some, maybe not a lot, but certainly some, marijuana. But there's some stuff out there that's just so destructive and so awful. And people are liable to, I believe that people should be able to choose what they do to their own body and their own mind, but I also think that there's some stuff out there that people just don't fully understand the impact of when they go into it. Peer pressure is a hell of a thing, and that sort of stuff. So, you don't want broad availability of a lot of that kind of stuff. I don't know. Yeah, I certainly think that some drugs should be, legalized and somewhat regulated. But yeah, it's a good question. It's something you could debate either way for a long time. How old are you? Cernova and Nemesis 86. Cernova 96 and Nemesis 86 both wanted to know this. I'm 27. And looks like Nemesis 86 recently celebrated a birthday on the 15th. So happy birthday. That's fantastic. Do I like traveling? What places are on my bucket list? Asks Ubaya Dean, Proud Kaka, Jackson Cayley, and 11 Creature 11. I love traveling. I've been lucky enough to travel through sort of Western Central Europe. I've seen France, Germany, Poland, Switzerland, Austria. I also had a chance to travel around a bit of the Mediterranean, through Greece, and the Aegean, the Greek islands, and Turkey. I've traveled throughout some of the States, some of Canada. I've been to Hawaii a couple times. There's a lot more places that I would love to see. So many places. My bucket list is a mile long for places that I would really love to get to visit. But I'd love to get to Italy. I'd love to get to Sweden and Norway, Scandinavia. I'd love to make it to South America one day. Just so many places. Japan. I'd love to visit Japan. What is my guilty pleasure? Asked Thoy99. Guilty pleasure. I'm not super guilty about much of what I do. I tend to own up to it pretty well. Guilty pleasure, just something that I don't know. I'll come back to that one maybe if I remember. Sorry, I don't have an answer for you. I can't think of anything right now. How many languages do I speak? Asks Prout Prout Kaka. One, really. I have a bit of French. I used to be better at it, almost semi-fluent maybe. Um, but I can still understand French all right, but formulating a response takes me quite some time. It's like anything, if you don't use it, you tend to lose it. And so that is definitely the case with my French. Other than that, I speak a few words of a few other languages, like a few words just enough to get by in Greece. Same with Turkish, Polish, I speak a few words. Yeah. Jonathan Izari, or Irizari, are you a car enthusiast? And if so, what car do you own, or do you wish you owned? I'm not like a gearhead or anything like that, petrol head, whatever you want to call it. But I do appreciate cars for their beauty, and I tend to be a pretty green-minded kind of guy. Like I tend to be fairly pro-environment and stuff as a biologist. So the fact, that I am a fan of supercars is maybe sort of flies in the face of that. But they're just such cool pieces of engineering and art, and they're so beautiful and powerful. So like I enjoy Top Gear as much as the next guy. But I drive a Mazda 3, 2005 Mazda 3 GT hatchback, which is a lot of fun to drive. It's nice. It's got it's the top trim level, so I've got leather interiors. I got the alloy wheels, all that stuff. I got the Bose sound system. It's nice. I like it a lot. It's really tight, handles well. It's kind of zippy, but I haven't done anything under the hood. Like I haven't modified it in any way. I'm not a tuner or tweaker or anything like that. If I could have any car in the whole wide world, then you start getting kind of crazy. Probably a McLaren F1 or something like that. But that's obviously kind of, I don't know, more within reason. I think a Tesla Model S would be pretty cool, although they're kind of large, like boaty, like maybe too sedany for me. I wish Tesla would come out with a new Roadster, something updated. I don't know. I love the McLaren 650S. I love the Ferrari 458. Yeah, I don't know. I've always loved Lotuses, but I know they're notoriously mechanically challenged. So, gosh, so many questions, so little time. I think I'm gonna have to put an addendum onto the end of this. I'm just gonna go until I can't record anymore. But the second half of this might end up being filmed back at home. What are your hobbies besides what we see in videos? There are not that many things I do that you don't see in the videos, because most of my hobbies end up making into videos. But I do, like I said, practice martial arts. I enjoy hiking, which you don't see in videos, although at some point, hopefully not too long from now, I'd love to do more outdoor videos for you guys. Yeah, I like playing music, my guitar. That's also something you haven't seen in a video. Favorite animal? Tardigrades. I like tardigrades, water bears. They are fantastic because they can survive anything. They can survive the vacuum of space. They can survive boiling water. They can survive being, locked away in rock for who knows how long. They can desiccate themselves. They dry themselves out, and I should point out tardigrades, if you don't know what they are. Look them up. But they're tiny. They're little microscopic little critters. And yeah, they're famed for being able to survive pretty much any condition. But they dry themselves out and they go into this kind of hibernation. There's probably tardigrades right around me right now, in the moss that I'm sitting on, quite likely, or somewhere nearby. Probably tons of them. Check them out. I also love the peregrine falcon because it's badass and it can dive at stupid fast speeds, like insanely fast. I can't remember. I should remember the number. It was something crazy, like a couple 100 kilometers an hour. Really fast dives. Peregrine falcons are pretty cool. That was asked by 11 Creature 11. Defy Magnet wants to know what's your favorite thing about the UK, assuming you actually like anything about it. I love that addendum on the end, that self-deprecating British humor. Assuming you like anything about it. I like TV from the UK. I like a lot of the sort of cultural history from the UK. I have not visited the UK, so I can't really speak to it in that sense, but I would love to visit it, and hopefully will do someday soon. I like some British cooking, you know, which a lot of you are probably laughing about, but I don't know, something kind of comforting about simple, straightforward dishes, sausages. I had something called Bubble and Squeak the other day. I don't know if that's anything that is still eaten in the UK. I think it was kind of a wartime food, but it's kind of a mash of like potatoes and other vegetables and stuff. It's mostly root vegetables, but it was pretty good. Kind of done up, pan fried. Also wants to know what my favorite type of cheese is. I just love a good sharp cheddar, you know? It's hard to beat. But I love Gouda. I like Edam cheese. I like Brie. Most cheeses. Pretty much any cheese you put in front of me I'll like. Colin Furrows, do I enjoy the BC Bud? Not regularly, not with any frequency. But you know, it's British Columbia. Weirdly not legalized here, but everyone's so casual about it. Yeah, it's not something I partake in with any regularity. I'll put it that way. Energaic asks, have I had any spooky moments in my life? Spooky moments. No. Is that boring? I can't think of any moment that I would still classify as like an unexplained mystery in my life. Something I experienced that I cannot explain. None that come to mind anyway. But a lot of people do. What is the oldest sentimental item I still have and what's special about it? Asked Fish Kung Fu. It's gotta be my blanket. I had a blanket from, as far as I know, when I was born. I still have it tucked away in a box somewhere. I don't know where, but it's somewhere. But I loved that blanket all through my childhood. I slept with it till I was about 11 or 12, I think. I would like wrap it around my head when I slept sometimes when I was a kid, kind of like Linus in his blanket. A lot of air traffic going on here today. Pardon the helicopter if you can hear that. Yeah. So, my blankie. Mobij Productions wants to know, what's my ethnic background? Good question. I am ethnically 50% Polish, or genetically 50% Polish. And I've been to Poland. I visited a lot of my family over there. I have lots of second cousins and third cousins, and they were just the kindest, most welcoming people I've ever met in my whole life, and they all wanted to stuff me full of food. I've never eaten so much in my life. And Polish cooking, it's good stuff, let me tell you. Really delicious. And every Christmas, my family celebrates a Polish-style Christmas. On Christmas Eve, we do a big Polish feast. Yeah, so ethnically 50% Polish, and then my other half is like fifth generation Canadian or something like that. And then prior to that, a bit of English, some German, and some Swedish, I think. So kind of all over the place on that side, European mix. Vinny H wants to know, what's the most ridiculous thing I've bought for myself? I think it's got to go to the GTX 980, which is a video card that I bought a couple months ago. Not in that it's ridiculous in the sense of like, what a piece of crap or something. It's fantastic, but it's just a heck of a lot of money to spend on a video card. You can go check out the unboxing video. It's on my channel here. It's just a few videos back. I think it was in November. But that thing's a beast. Holy cow. I've been incredibly impressed with it, especially with how well it overclocks. But it was very expensive. I might buy another flagship card. We'll see. It's getting awfully dark here. The sun went behind a cloud. Uh, D-Man and C-Man wants to know what is my favorite element of water, earth, air, and fire, and why. Um, all I can think of is Pokemon when you ask this. I like water types, I like fire type Pokemon. I don't know enough about the elemental attributes, I guess, like in like traditional Chinese four elements and that kind of stuff. I'm not familiar enough with it to say why my favorite is any particular thing, but we'll go water. Yeah, I like water. I love the ocean. Zach, your supreme overlord, wants to know if I enjoy eating dirt. No. Next question. James Garrett asks, do I have any siblings? Yes, I've got a younger brother. I've mentioned him a handful of times in my videos. He is 4.5 years younger than me, but he's an awesome dude. We've always gotten along because I think that gap is just big enough that growing up, he always kind of looked up to me. And so, and in turn, I tried to be a good big brother to him. You know, he was never too annoying or anything like that, so... we got along well as kids. We still get along really well to this day. I consider him one of my best friends. James Garrett. If I had to choose a last meal, what would it be? The most perfect steak that the world has ever seen. Just perfect. A beautiful, medium rare, succulent cut of prime beef. And I'm sorry for you vegetarians and vegans out there. Yes, there are a lot of very compelling arguments to ditch the meat and be vegetarian, be vegan. I just love it too much. It's just too delicious. Maybe one day I'll convince myself otherwise. But who's my favorite historical person? Asks Sean Deitch. Oh, there have been so many cool historical people. I tend towards the scientists. I like Newton was a pretty neat guy. He would be pretty neat to meet. Albert Einstein. That sounds so cliche, but that man, the more you read of his work, the more I read of his work anyway, the more my appreciation for that guy grows. Just how far he saw, how deep he saw, and then how he not only conceptualized, but then justified it and proved it, rationalized it with the stark mathematics of it all. And the fact that we're still discovering today that Einstein was right. And a lot of things that he posited doesn't necessarily prove. A lot of things he predicted are coming to pass in terms of our discoveries in the field of physics. And obviously, quantum physics was something that he never really pushed forward or fully bought into even. He had a lot of issues with the Copenhagen interpretation, especially of quantum physics. But Albert Einstein was an impossibly brilliant man. And I think it would just be so cool to have had a chance to just get like 5-10 minutes of that guy's time. So, Sean Deitch and John Freeman want to know, what era of time would you have liked to experience if given the choice or given the opportunity? Classical Greek times. I think the classical Greeks had it pretty good. I would have maybe had a vineyard. I would have maybe grown, grapes and made wine somewhere on the Attican Peninsula, maybe. Yeah, that's what I would have done. Or up in the mountains near, the valleys near Delphi, I guess, growing some olives. Maybe had an olive grove. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Thomas Morrow wants to know, if I could live in any state besides where I live now, what state would it be? I don't live in a state because I live in Canada. I live in the province of British Columbia. If I could live in another province, I don't think I'd live in another province. I'd like to visit the East Coast. I've never actually been to the East Coast of Canada, so it would be cool to go to Nova Scotia, maybe. I don't know if I'd want to live there. If I could live in a state of my choice, Washington and Oregon are both very beautiful. California would be a cool place to live for a while, I think. I could live in California. But I love the West Coast, in case you couldn't tell. I should probably visit more of the States, though. I haven't really had a chance to see much of the States, so I'm just biased. Super Thunder Waffle asks, in Canada, does your milk really come in bags? If so, how do you seal it back up? Yeah, so in Canada, milk, you can buy milk in bags. It's not as common these days as it used to be. But back when I was a kid, my grandparents would always have milk in bags. Um, it's just like a rectangular bag, and you snip off the corner. It's just a plastic bag, right? And you put the milk in like a milk pitcher, and you pour it out from there, and then you can seal it back up with a clip. There's a clip that you can put on the cut corner to seal it up. I don't know why. It's kind of a weird thing, actually. Now that I think about it, it wasn't weird at the time, but I don't buy my milk in bags, and you don't see it very commonly anymore. So, but it's not just a rumor. It was and probably still is a thing in some places. Okay, this is gonna be the last question for now. The question is, how do you like your eggs? Asked by Bruce Wayne. Batman would like to know how I like my eggs. I tend to scramble my eggs if I'm doing them in the morning for myself or for Sarah and I. So I like scrambled eggs, but I also like them sunny side up. I like them, over easy. I like them poached. The only way I don't really like eggs is soft boiled. I'm not a big fan of the soft boiled eggs, but scrambled is probably my primary answer. So that gets us within shooting distance of the end. I want to say there's another 25 questions, maybe 30, which I'm going to have to finish up at a later time. So I don't know exactly where I'll be next, perhaps back in the dark at home or elsewhere, but I do hope you enjoyed this little outside time. The lighting's been a little inconsistent and a couple disturbances with a couple people and a dog and stuff, but it was kind of fun for me. I hope the sound comes out okay. I'll find out when I take this back and listen to the video, but overall I would love to do more stuff outside, so hopefully this is the first of many such videos. So see you very soon wherever I end up next. Bye for the moment. And we're back in the dark room, as you can see, for the thrilling conclusion of this 3-part Q&A series. I had a chance to listen to the piece that I recorded previously that you just watched, where I was outside, and the creek was not nearly as loud on the microphone as it was in real life, and so I was kind of shouting almost for no good reason, and I was also talking very fast, I have noticed. So that probably it wasn't very relaxing at all. But I was talking fast because it was a little bit chilly, a little bit uncomfortable where I was sitting, I think. And because I was in a bit of a hurry to film as much as I could in the recording time I had. And of course, we did not get finished, so here we are again. As I mentioned, we have about 30 questions remaining. So let's get them done. Let's put a lid on it. Okay, so last question was, how do I like my eggs? Next question from Showthorst24 is, do you like the color of your walls? If not, what color would you paint them? You can't tell because it's pitch black in here, which is a tactical choice on my part, purposeful, to hide the mess. But my walls are kind of a light green. It was like a pale mossy green, and yes, it's a beautiful color. I like it a lot. Evad for ASMR wants to know 100 duck-sized horses or 1 horse-sized duck. The classic Reddit question. I gotta go for 100 duck-sized horses, which maybe sounds kind of nuts, but a horse-sized duck would mess you up. Like, that's huge. You would stand no chance. Unarmed, anyway. 100 duck-sized horses, though, you might be able to, like, climb a tree or, like, kick at them or something. Just crush them, or, I don't know, until they're none left. Also, duck-sized horses are adorable. I feel like I answered this question before somewhere. But yeah, if you could totally figure out a way to capture them or, like, breed them, you could. Probably make a killing off of like teacup horses. Be awesome. Google Minus wants to know, who is your favorite philosopher, and do I like any modern ones? Um, I'm not particularly well informed on the history of philosophy or philosophers themselves. Um, so I don't know if I could make an informed statement about that. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't read a lot of this sort of seminal works in philosophy, but it's probably something I should do. This is a good question. Once again, from Evad for ASMR, they ask, does your wife make you whisper her to sleep at night, or am I special? You're all special to me. But to address the specific question, she's not my wife yet. She's my long-term girlfriend. And this is a funny question because she asked me this just like a week before this question showed up. Or not really asked me, but she pointed out to me that it was weird that the rest of the random world had probably heard me whispering more stuff in their ear than she ever had, because I don't really whisper to her with any regularity in particular. So, yeah, I guess that answers that question. I do not whisper Sarah to sleep at night, and you're all special. It's just funny that question showed up here just shortly after she pointed that out herself. Semtech UK says, what is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? I believe the correct answer is African or European. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I get thrown off a cliff. It's a Monty Python and the Holy Grail reference. Sugana Naoki wants to know if I know any Japanese words. Not really. Like, not any real vocabulary, just like, the couple words that all Anglophones seem to know, like konnichiwa and that kind of stuff. But really, no, I'm terribly ignorant when it comes to Japanese. But I like it. It's a very beautiful language, and I love Japanese ASMR videos. There's one Japanese ASMR artist, Haka Four Seasons ASMR, I think is her name, and I found her channel just a little while ago and really, really enjoyed what she's doing, so others as well. Lily Amano wants to know, what is the best piece of advice I've ever received? Cool question. I've received a lot of good advice. I've been lucky to have a lot of good people in my life, deserving of a lot of my respect, who have helped me out and provided advice. But the one that comes to mind right now, and that is absolutely true, is that the key to success is consistency over time. And that applies to any endeavor you undertake. If you want it bad enough, if you are consistent and persistent, you don't necessarily have to like bust your ass necessarily, or anything like that to and put out more than you can or do more than you can, because that's unsustainable. What you need is a consistent, regular effort, and that's what I've tried to do here with my channel, and in other aspects of my life, especially my martial art, my academics, all that kind of stuff. It's a lot easier said than done. It sounds so simple, but being consistent and committed to something can be a real challenge. And there are, of course, times where I don't rise up to that challenge. I think, any of you have watched this channel for any period of time probably know that there are occasional weeks where I won't upload. Once or twice there have been like a month or maybe two where I didn't really upload, or uploaded like a video. And that's like, it's only human, I think. But I do try to be fairly consistent. Yeah, I'm rambling too much again. But I think that's a fantastic piece of advice in all aspects of life. Consistency over time. if you can commit to that, that is the key to success. Lily Amano also wants to know, what fictional character do I relate to the most, and why? I don't have an answer for that. I don't know. You know, when I was young, like I always wanted to be like Luke Skywalker or someone like that. You know, like the hero. But I don't particularly relate very well to any fictional characters that I can think of. In my life, I find that I am a kind of person who like people often turn to me for help, for one reason or another. And I don't mean that as like a humble brag or something like that. It just seems to be, maybe it's something I invite. I don't know, but and I'm happy to fulfill that role. But I can't think of any characters off the top of my head that is sort of one of their traits and that I can relate to in that respect. I don't know. It's a very good question though, and I'll like a couple here. I've said I'll keep thinking about it. Maybe I'll have an answer for you one day, or maybe by the end of the video. Okay, Voltaire wants to know, what superpower do I dream of having? Does the Force count, like from Star Wars? If so, that is probably the superpower that I've dreamt of the most. I just think it would be pretty cool. And again, when I was a kid, I would like to play that I was a Jedi, or imagine I was a Jedi. Voltaire also asks if I believe in ghosts. As I've said several times over the course of this video and others, I'm a pretty rational guy, and I don't really have any of those unexplained mysteries in my life. So, no, which is a little sad. I wish sometimes I could believe in like magic and stuff like that. You know, I wish I could let myself, but I just, the way my brain works, at this point in my life, I can't. So no, I don't believe in ghosts. Voltaire also asks, what celebrity would I trade lives with? That's a good question. When I first read this, I thought of somebody, and now I have totally forgotten. I'm drawing a complete blank. I don't follow celebrities a lot. Bill Murray seems like he has a lot of fun. Like, yeah, he's old now, but he just shows up in the most random of places. Like, seems like the guy just does whatever the heck he wants. Just crashes parties, and yeah, I think he's got a pretty cool life. Maybe I'd trade lives with Bill Murray. What kind of birds do you get at your feeder at this time of year? I answered that question already, but that was asked by Izzy Grows Up. I answered that in the previous portion of this video, where I talked about what I put in my bird feeders. Ethan Breidenhagen wants to know, how mad am I about the Library of Alexandria burning down? Yeah, man, that sucks, right? But given that we're about 2,000 years distant, give or take, from the event itself, I can't really be mad about it. I can be sad and regretful. It definitely sucks. Just the thought of all that lost knowledge really chokes me up. Just what we could have known, and the insight we could have had into just the everyday lives, even not even just the major, the big goings on, but any loss of knowledge is tragic, in my opinion. But that one is particularly poignant because of the scale of the loss and the fact that it can never be recovered. Edward Gonzalez asks, how is it living in Canada? Is it as cold as they say? It can get kind of cold, although I like to say that I live in the cheaters corner of Canada. I'm a poser Canadian because Vancouver Island, Victoria specifically, is, I believe, the mildest climate in all of Canada. Um, in the wintertime, it doesn't, well, occasionally it's below freezing, in the nighttime, but the daytimes are usually above 0 degrees Celsius. Um, it rarely snows, maybe like once or twice, if that. And even then, it's not very much in Victoria. And the summers are beautiful. The springs and falls are beautiful. We do get a fair bit of rain because it's the west coast, the wet coast, as they call it. But the summers are gorgeous here. We're living in a partial rain shadow here in Victoria, so it's actually a lot drier than other parts of Canada. I think I've mentioned this in other videos, but we get about half the rain that Vancouver gets and then that Seattle gets. So it's a good place to be weather-wise. It is not that cold here at all. Other parts of Canada are definitely much colder. I've been in Ontario, southern Ontario, in the middle of winter. It was freezing. Well below freezing. But I've never really experienced like true cold. But overall, how is it living in Canada? Fantastic. It's a beautiful country, and I love it here. Me, myself, and ASMR asks, boxers or briefs? Boxers. I just like having the freedom. I won't dwell on that for too long. Me, myself, and ASMR also asks, what has been the best day of my life so far, or the happiest moment? Again, like another really hard question. You guys have got some really excellent questions that have really made me think. The happiest day of my life so far. People say like the day they graduated and stuff, maybe. The day they got married. I'm not married yet, so I can't speak to that. But for me, some of my best memories, happiest moments were when I was traveling. So the day that I arrived in Athens with my brother and two of my best friends, we were taking a taxi from the airport to the hostel where we were staying in Athens. And as we drove past, it was the middle of the night. We arrived there at like 3:30 a.m. local time, and we were dead tired after like 24 hours straight of traveling or something stupid. But as we drove by, I saw the Acropolis, I saw the Parthenon all lit up, and it was just this moment of giddy, oh my God, I'm actually here. This is real. These things I've read about and learned about for so long and dreamt about seeing. It's all here. It's in the flesh. And that was a really happy moment. Really cool. Just that feeling. Also the first time I got to go on a major holiday with my better half, with Sarah, which was quite recently, actually. Just last year was the first time we had saved up enough money together to go somewhere. We went to Hawaii, and just our first night there, just walking around. We were on Oahu, Waikiki, just walking down the beach, the warm night air. Such a happy moment. Yeah, so that's what comes to mind. I Nuja6ES wants to know, how long have you grown out your hair, and will you ever cut it? I think a lot of people didn't realize, maybe, or don't realize, depending on what videos they've seen of mine, that I have long hair. I have my hair back in a ponytail. You can see it here. It's fairly long. I originally grew it out that way because any self-respecting metalhead has good headbanging hair. I say that half jokingly, but it's also kind of half true. And I've had it like that for years now, probably like 7 or 8 years, maybe not quite that long. Yeah, probably 7 years now. Yeah. How long did it take me to grow it out? I don't really remember initially, probably like a year or two, and then it's just I've kind of maintained it at this length roughly. But in my videos, especially here in the dark room, I have my hair pulled back in a ponytail, and you can't really tell necessarily. It looks just kind of like I've got my hair parted and slicked back. But during the previous part of this video where I was outside, you could definitely see that. Okay. Will I ever cut it? Yeah, definitely. It's getting to be time. Sarah likes it long, so that's another reason I've kept it this long. But it's a pain in the ass, and I'm ready for something else. So one of these days soon, maybe you'll see me with short hair. Abdullah Man 3 asks, is 9 plus 10 actually 21? I guess this is a reference. From what I can gather, this is a reference to like a Vine or something that went viral a week or two ago, a couple weeks ago maybe. I don't know. But I'm not really aware of exactly what the reference implies, so I'm gonna say whatever you want it to be. If you want it to be 21, sure. Provably false, but it doesn't, whatever. Okay. Rydillo wants to know what kind of writing do I do for my work / pleasure, and how did I become interested in it. I talked about this earlier in the video, but I do mostly scientific writing. I've done a lot of technical writing in past, and now I am doing popular level writing, but about scientific topics. I don't really write for pleasure these days. I used to a bit. I did have a phase where I did some shitty fanfic of various kinds. I like I said, I enjoy writing, but I've always been pretty good at it. I read a lot as a kid and as a teen, and that makes such a difference just in expanding your vocabulary and your ability to string together appealing sentences and paragraphs. Things just come easier, I think, when you just read a lot. For writing. And I did a lot of creative writing in high school, and I guess I was pretty good at it. I don't know, it seemed to be the case, but it's not really something I've pursued for a long time. Okay. Elisa wants to know what my favorite food is. I think I've mentioned it a couple times, but I love a good steak. I like hamburgers of various kinds. I like Thai food. Some of you may know that I am also type 1 diabetic, so a lot of these foods don't like me, particularly Thai food is not very good for me. But every once in a while, I indulge. So I also love a good potato salad. My mom's homemade potato salad. I love that. And salads in general. I like all kinds of salads. Super Kami Guru Salmon wants to know why/how is my facial hair so incredible and masculine? Verbatim. I'm not just embellishing. In fact, there were a few people that asked about my beard. Ricky Lowe, Mo Anime Grill, and Polish Panda or Polish Panda asked variations on how long did it take to grow your beard? How do you grow such fabulous facial hair? Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So, like, I don't have any secret. I don't know. I think beardliness is just kind of something you have or you don't to a certain extent. I grew this beard last November for No Shave November or Movember, whatever you call it. And I just kept it around. It's a good opportunity to be lazy and like not shave for a while, which is why a lot of guys do No Shave November. And it's kind of fun to grow a beard every once in a while. And then I kind of liked it, and I got some compliments, and Sarah liked it, so it got to stay, and here it is. But I got like a disproportionate number of comments and questions about my facial hair. I do trim it. Like, I keep it quite trim. I keep it trimmed to 3/4 of an inch, I think it is. I have a pair of clippers, and I just trim it every couple of days, few days. Yeah, just keep it clean, keep it trimmed and under control. On the neckline, I don't know if you can see, but pro tip, when you're grooming your beard, leave about 1/4 inch from the jawline that goes underneath, kind of rolls under your jaw, and you avoid the sort of double chin effect that you sometimes get if you shave right along your jawline. That's about the extent of my grooming advice. facial hair grooming advice. So, but thank you for all your wonderful, flattering comments about my beard. It is a relatively new addition. Favorite movie, asked by Zach Hernandez. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not much of a movie buff. Many of you would probably find it dismaying how few videos or how few classic movies I've actually seen. I'm a sucker for a good adventure film. I'm a sucker, excuse me, for a good historical epic. Obviously, the Star Wars movies are some of my favorites of all time. The original trilogy, of course. The Lord of the Rings movies are wonderful, loving renditions of books that I read before the movies came out and that were special to me at that time, and the movies were just awesome. If I had to pick a favorite single movie, I love the movie Gladiator. I love pretty much everything about the movie Gladiator. I love Roman history. I think Russell Crowe did a fantastic, amazing job as Maximus, and Joaquin Phoenix as Commodus, just so freaking good. The visuals, the storyline of a revenge story is always, or yeah, I guess it's a revenge story, redemption story is always such a satisfying thing to watch. And the soundtrack of that movie is beautiful. Hans Zimmer is a great composer if you like bombast. And Lisa Gerrard, who did a lot of the softer, more lamenting tracks in that soundtrack, and the female vocals. She's brilliant as well. She's one of the two members of Dead Can Dance, which is sort of a ethereal world music band that's been making beautiful music since the early 1980s. And I actually got a chance to see Dead Can Dance live, which was a real treat. That was 2 years ago now, because they hadn't toured for like a decade. They're getting up there, but they're a fantastic band, great music that I enjoy. So Gladiator, I love Gladiator. Favorite genre of movie, asked by Miss Something Sick and Little Green Dragon. Like I said, sci-fi, adventure flicks, historical epics, fantasy, all that kind of stuff. I also enjoy specifically Quentin Tarantino's stuff. I just like him as a director. Really watchable, just stupid, entertaining movies. Pulp Fiction. I love Pulp Fiction. Kyle Galbrecht, what was your favorite TV show growing up? I mentioned way back in the first video that I watched a lot of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I liked Bob Ross, a lot of stuff on public TV, like PBS. I liked, like when I was really young, Sesame Street. In Canada, we had a show called Mr. Dress Up. I watched a lot of that. I watched Magic School Bus, Bill Nye the Science Guy, Arthur, if you guys know Arthur, the Aardvark, is a cartoon. Obviously Pokemon, I watched a lot of that. I watched a lot of Digimon. Yeah, those are all favorite shows of mine when I was growing up. Simon the Samurai wants to know what's my favorite TV show now. Probably Game of Thrones. Yeah, definitely Game of Thrones. I think they've done a fantastic job translating those books into entertaining TV fare, and just the production quality of those shows is so fantastic. Free to Be and Sandor Clegane both want to know what is my favorite Game of Thrones arc or character, and my least favorite character. And Sandor Clegane says, no pressure. I like Arya a lot. I think she has a neat arc and story. Obviously Tyrion is a crowd favorite, and I like him a lot. And Daenerys, pretty cool. Varys is an interesting character as well. Least favorite character. I mean, like, Joffrey is an easy one because everyone hates Joffrey, but or like Cersei or something like that. But I kind of don't like Stannis. Like, you take or leave what he's done, you know, like, but just as a character, he's just so kind of an asshole, and I don't know, stick up his ass. I don't know. Stannis, and he's kind of boring too in a lot of ways. I don't like Stannis much. Free to Be asks, do I like Star Trek? Yes. I don't think I've actually mentioned it yet in any of these videos, but Star Trek, I might have even seen Star Trek before I saw Star Wars. In fact, I did watch Star Trek The Next Generation before I watched Star Wars from a very young age. And I love Next Generation. I love Voyager. I never really got into Deep Space Nine. And I never really I mean, I've watched a lot of the original series, but it's not my favorite. But Next Gen, absolutely. Star Trek TNG is fantastic. Wilfredo Hernandez asks, did I watch Power Rangers in my youth? Power Rangers was a show like The Simpsons, which my parents never let me watch at home. For one reason or another. They thought it was too violent, I guess, Power Rangers. But I would watch it at friends' places, and I always enjoyed watching it at friends' places. And on the school ground, playground, we'd always play Power Rangers. I'd always be like the Red Ranger, I think, or the Green Ranger or something. I don't know. So yeah, I did like Power Rangers as a kid. Keetle Meetle 311 asks, if I had to pick one of the Goonies to hang out with for a day, who would it be? I gotta claim ignorance. I have never seen the Goonies. Maybe that's horrifying to some of you, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. Can't answer the question. Haven't seen it. Then a couple final ones that came in a little bit late here that I snagged. One Brandy19 wants to know, how old were you when you first started playing MTG? That's Magic the Gathering. Did you like it right away? I picked it up in grade 6, so it would have been 12-ish, I guess. 11, 12. And I picked it up because a friend of mine at the time was playing it and was collecting cards, and he gave me some of my first cards, and he sort of got me into that, and then I started buying my own cards, and the rest is history. Yeah, first I was attracted by the art and the aesthetic and stuff like that, and then I slowly learned the game. This was around the time that Pokemon cards were also at the height of their popularity, so that helped introduce me to collectible card games. It took me a while to warm up to playing the game because I'm not a very competitive guy. Still not, but yes, I did enjoy it, and I've continued to enjoy it. The last question, the very last question of all of the questions, all like 200 of them it ended up being, roughly. You guys ready? Are you excited? Okay. Will Reiser wants to know, do I like ducks? And his YouTube avatar is a picture of a duck. Yes, I like ducks. Thank you, Will. That's it. That is all of the questions you asked me. It only took me like 4 hours or more, maybe even, to get through them all, or get through all of them. If you are still watching, if you have watched through all of this, bravo, sir or madam. You are a dedicated viewer. Because I don't think I could be bothered to watch through all of this. But anyway, I hope for all of you who asked questions, first of all, thank you once again so much. I was just thrilled with the number of questions came in, the response. I hope that my questions, or my answers to your questions, have been interesting, worth listening to, maybe a little relaxing in some parts, although probably not the outdoor stuff. And thanks for just listening to me ramble. It actually means a lot to me that you sit through this, and that you care about what I have to say. So, will I ever do this again? Maybe. I think all the questions must have been asked by now. If I do this again, in a year or two's time or something, it'll probably be different. I've learned some lessons from this, but yes, I'm going to leave it there. Once again, thank you all for subscribing, viewing, liking, tweeting, Facebooking me, sending me all your awesome messages and comments, just generally hanging out with me these past 2 years, and for sticking it through this 3-part Q&A epic. It means the world to me. And I look really forward to what 2015 is going to bring. Next week, we will be back to your regularly scheduled ASMR programming. I'm going to take a short break for a few days here because I'm in the middle of actually taking a course right now, a very intensive course, which is an entire semester's worth of instruction compressed down into 1 week. So that will finish up, and I will have a brand new, tingly, relaxing ASMR video for you next week. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.